They still had no idea where Blue came from or what grew people onto. Maybe everything could be a setup. Out of nowhere, Jaein and the Mohawk guys start saying that they don't even know Blue. Who's Blue? They never heard of that kid. Apparently it's all an act for that guy there, right? Who seems a bit confused. He says okay then, but he'll introduce himself. His name is Quimon, and he hopes they manage to get out of this alive. At that moment though, he says he thinks there should be one more person in this place. That one who helped carry injured Body's man. Who right now is arriving in front of Blue and taking off his coat. But just by seeing the chin, we already know it's not the dad. Who said he was talking about that guy in the hood? He was kind of weird and didn't say a word. That's why he was even a bit surprised when that guy volunteered to help. Gugin starts thinking this is really strange. Everyone he sees, normally he can see the path of the life force. But this guy for some reason, he couldn't. Blue asks what he wants. Then the guy starts to take off the hood and, whoa, man, what is that? It's Gugin's brother, but with red hair. Strangely, Blue asks what he is. And the guy starts speaking in some weird language, kind of alien-like, and our boy doesn't understand anything. The crazy guy keeps talking to himself, laughing to himself. While Blue is yelling, saying he doesn't understand if thing is saying. The guy stares at him, notices someone approaching and puts the hood on. At that moment, BM and that other guy with the glasses arrive, asking what he's doing there with the boy. Blue, however, just wants to know what happened to Gugin, the Mohawk guy, and everyone else. BM says that Gugin and the Mohawk guy have already woken up. Haru, on the other hand, was still unconscious. At least it didn't look like she had suffered any kind of fatal injury. But obviously, Blue is blaming himself, saying this was all because of him. That he ended up losing consciousness in the middle of all that, and as soon as he woke up, she was in front of him. And he's sure he was about to attack her. And the worst part is that he found out that the feeling he hated when he was about to kill someone wasn't anger, guilt, or hatred. It was for some reason, pleasure. The man with the glasses gets closer. Blue tells him to stay away, but the guy grabs his arm and says he trusts him. He trusts everything he's shown so far. BM says he does too. He saw it with his own eyes, the strength he had, and also how he managed to calm himself down. He saw him almost die and still didn't hesitate to help everyone. As long as he had a heart like that, he was sure he wasn't a monster. He sure Blue must have seen these people, the ones who are no different from the surface monsters. But suddenly, someone says no. It's Gugin walking in, saying that he's a monster. He wasn't even a bit different from the surface creatures. Otherwise, his power wouldn't make any sense. He wasn't different from that woman, or in fact, was worse than her. He looked like a monster, and he was one. Confused, BM asks why he's saying all this. Gugin closes his eyes, lowers his head, and says that they need him. The bastard always loves doing this drama, saying that his power, knowledge, and very existence, all of it would be necessary for them to discover the truth about those monsters and face them. In other words, he didn't trust Blue, but he trusted in the possibilities he could create. Good thing the Mohawk guy shows up to lighten the mood, telling our boy to relax. Every real man turns into a monster at some point. What he wants to know now is if they're finally going to that place from the transmission and find that other guy who had prepared for the apocalypse, like Blue's dad. Strangely, people there are kind of scared, man. But Gugin knew that now the preparations were truly complete. The true nature of his apocalypse was no longer far off, and Blue knew that maybe if he found this guy, he would find something out about where his mother ended up. Also, he wanted to understand what exactly was the nature of this monster living inside him, and he didn't remember his dad ever mentioning it. But whatever, he wasn't going to let it happen again. However, man, the monster shows up asking something right then and out of nowhere. He starts transforming man. Everyone gets scared, man, the head, the arms, it's all starting to change. Gugin gets ready to fire man. But the Mohawk guy holds his arms, saying to trust the boy. Our kid is there tearing off pieces, but at the same time, the thing keeps multiplying and man he got surrounded. Good thing the Mohawk guy came through and pulled the thing off his face, telling him to wake up to life. He had a trust that they were nearby and would help him. But the voice was only in Blue's ear, telling him to kill everyone and consume. But he replies, no. Everyone was giving their best to help them. And he didn't want to lose anyone precious like that again. He has no idea what this monster inside him is, but he would never let it take control. The monster though, man, just replies, "That's what you think." Suddenly, a giant hand grabs him and starts pulling the boy as his vision fades. On the outside, he opens his red eye and now everyone's trembling. That's when a man, the only one who can save the boy, shows up once again. Harmer comes right up to his face and tells him to control himself and wake up. That's it, finally the mask fades away. Man, that demon, there's going to be hard to control. Normally in an eye, demons like that need something specific to happen. But this one just shows up out of nowhere. Get out of here. Sometime later, the group is asking how the food and everything else is going. Looks like I managed to stock up on some supplies since the people who fled from the base brought a lot. And the lazy one praises them, saying it's thanks to the old man and the Mohawk guy who always come back with full hands when they go hunting. She asked if Haru is still sleeping and BM says yes. Seems like she was still recovering from that trauma. Obviously, he's talking about the day the Blue almost transformed into a monster. Whoa, man, so several days have passed. Here I come with another opinion, but usually in an eye and the protagonists are like, I have a monster inside me, run away. But in reality, it's just poorly controlled. But Blue's one actually seems more dangerous than normal. Then we hear women talking to the group who stay to manage the base. What they want to know is when they're finally going to start the return trip. They've already been away for over a month. He says for nobody to worry, they're almost ready. Then he tells Bujin to say hi to everyone and introduces him as the person who helped them escape from the base. What's this? The guy says hi and the apocalyptic girls are already all red, saying he's their type. But the badass just ignores them in. Says it's time to go. Women asks if he's really okay. Every time he saw the boy, he looked worse by the day. But he just replies not to worry. Nothing has changed. Still, the guy sure he's continuing that training and warns him that he better go easy. That life force stuff is dangerous. Bujin, though, responds that he doesn't care. He doesn't have any more excuses now. He can't say a more than he lost because he wasn't strong enough. Women sighs and puts a hand on his head, saying that it's only been a month since they met and he's already all worried about the guy. Meanwhile, the other girl is already hanging on his back, wanting to know how old the kid is. The seamstress is looking at the outfit she made for Blue, which is completely torn. The mustache guy goes to thank her? At least that much came back. Everything he made for them disappeared. But out of all the bad things, that's the least of it. Clothes, weapons, those you could fix. What you couldn't work human lives. She asks if he's starting to worry about the boys and the old man says not a chance. All he has to do is keep producing stuff to secure his place there. He's not the least bit worried about what happens outside. Then he says that in a way he's actually right. Then we see the fitted guy that looks like he went to the lazy girl to ask to learn how to speak. She asks if he's having trouble because he's a foreigner. And he's kind of saying yes, nodding his head. The chances of that bastard being a monster are higher than him being a foreigner, but the fool is there thinking he asked her because she's smart. He's celebrating and she tells him to trust that soon he'll be speaking. She asks what word he wants to learn and he points up and down. She says she gets it and tells him to repeat that there was the apocalypse. The weird guy smiles and right away repeats the words. Back with Bluey's wondering why he only manages to come back when he hears Harver's voice. If it weren't for her once again, everyone would have been in huge danger. And the worst part is now he can't guarantee that it won't happen again. And he also can't just keep depending on her. Besides that, he noticed that the more unstable his life force is, the more that thing tries to take over his consciousness. He had to learn to control it soon before the worst happened. He then